there to all our ghouls and goblins. Welcome to the Dark Screen Society. I'm Chuck, and I'm here with Seth.
Hello.
Brian.
Hello.
Gigi.
Hi.
And we have our special guest, Sydney from Horror Chronicles.
Hey.
Hey, Sydney. How are you?
I
remember.
So good. How are you?
Oh, we are wonderful. I remember like a year and a half ago, whenever I got onto TikTok and I didn't even have an official name. I was like Apple user 999743321. And I started watching content creators in horror. And one day I remember stopping in my tracks completely when I came across the Horror Chronicles page. And I had never seen somebody talk with such enthusiasm about the horror genre. And it was something that I was immediately enamored by, and later down the road here inspired me to create content. So my question to you for our first question opening the show is, has the Horror Chronicles brand set in? Has it hit you yet? What's the coolest thing you've done so far through your platform?
It hasn't. Like I get recognized in public. And I'm like,
Oh my God.
What's happening? Like, it's me. Like, I went to New Orleans this year in February, and like 2 or 3 people literally ran up to me on the street and like recognized me. I'm like, it's the strangest thing. Like, it has
That's
not
so cool,
sunk into me yet. Yeah, it has not sunk in for me yet. Like, people asking to take pictures with me at like horror cons and stuff. I'm like,
That's awesome.
I've never. I don't know. I'm just little old me, like a little girl from Rhode Island and who just loves horror movies. And all of a sudden people just started like recognizing me for it. It's the craziest thing. So it has not sunk in for me. I'm not sure it ever will. I have had a lot of cool things happen to me from like because of social media. Like I get invited to like movie premieres and things like that, but more so like the craziest stuff for me is like the connections that I've made. Like Damien Leone like posted my Terrifier 2 reaction, and like I'm mutuals with like David Howard Thornton and like Linnea Quigley on Instagram. Like people who are just icons, you know, like recognize me. And like Mike Flanagan liked a couple of my videos on TikTok. Like that's like shit that I literally never thought could happen to me. It's like I don't think I'll ever grasp it. It's crazy.
I love that. I will literally never forget when I was listening to Morbid podcast, and at this time I was like just starting out on TikTok, and like I had followed you and they had mentioned your account, and I was like, "Oh my God, I follow her too. She's awesome." And then like later on down the line, once we became like mutuals and friends and they mentioned you again, I was like, "That's my friend."
Yeah, I know. It's so weird. I'm still not over that too. Like I like talk to Elena. I'm
Oh
like,
my
I've been
God.
listening to Morbid for years, and then all of a
Yes.
sudden I'm like friends with Elena. Like, what?
Oh,
How did this
that
happen?
that's so
It's
awesome. I
amazing.
love that for you.
It's funny
It's
you guys bring that
crazy.
up because I was listening to Morbid on my drive to LA on Thursday.
They're just so good. I love them.
They're so good.
It's
I hope
great.
that you go on the podcast sometime. That'd be so cool.
I actually don't live far from them either.
Yeah, because you
Oh,
guys are
wow.
both like they always talk about how they're like East Coasters. So I was like, wait.
Yeah. Yeah, they're in Massachusetts, and I actually like work in like for the Massachusetts Department of Corrections, like in the prisons.
Oh my
So I'm
God.
like, put me on the pod, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Invite me on.
Yeah, put me on the pod.
Wait, so what do you do for them actually? That's really cool.
I know. Can you say
Yeah.
if you want to?
Yeah. So I do like more. I've been working there for like 6 years, like in the prison system. So I do more so like the treatment side of things. So
Oh,
like I
wow.
have a master's degree in forensic psychology. So I do like reentry programming, like I'm in charge of like religious services, things like that. Anything treatment related like falls under me.
That's
That's really
cool.
cool. I
That's
did a
awesome.
internship with pretrial services at the jail in Tucson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
It's interesting.
It is. It's very crazy. It was really fun to
Yeah.
see some of my friends get thrown in the drunk tank.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a good
Oh,
time.
God.
Never a boring moment there.
Never.
Do people from work ever notice or say anything to you
Yep.
about it? Like, yeah. Does that make you feel
So
weird?
now, yes, because now
Yeah.
it's like gotten around. So at first it was kind of like people would be like, hey, like you look really familiar. I think I follow you on TikTok. And I'm like, shut up. Like, don't say anything. Like, I don't want
Right.
anybody to know. And now it's just like a common thing. Like everybody knows, like all my bosses know, like they all follow me. Like
Oh, I love
everybody in the
that.
department pretty much knows.
That's
Like I got a
awesome.
call from some guy the other day and he was asking me a question. And he's like, by the way, like I hear you're like the horror go-to person. Like you do social media. I'm like, yep, that's me. I'm like my real world and my like social media worlds are colliding. I don't know if I like it.
That is so cute. No, that happened to me
Yeah.
at work, but it was funny because I work in education. So then the
Yeah.
teachers were like, "Do you know that your profile is public?" I was like, "Oh, okay. So you guys don't think it's cool." Noted.
Yeah, right. Thanks.
That's so
Totally agree.
amazing. So
Yeah.
we want to know what got you into horror, Sydney. Like, what was the first thing that like made you just fall in love with the genre?
So I always say like I've been watching horror movies since I came out of the womb. And like I just don't have another way to describe it. Like my parents, my dad specifically was like such a diehard horror lover that like I just grew up watching them with him and I didn't even know that it was like weird to say like a
Mhm.
4-year-old shouldn't be watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre until like I got to school and like my friends weren't watching like Jaws and Texas Chainsaw. I'm like, "Oh, like my family movie night is like we're going to see Signs in the theater and I'm being traumatized. Like you guys aren't doing the same thing." Like I didn't understand that. So it's just always been a staple for me. It's always been a part of my life.
It's
I
awesome.
love that. Do you have older siblings?
Yeah, I have an older sister and she's the same exact way.
Yeah, I feel like too when you have like older siblings, it's always so like ingrained into you for them to like try to scare the shit
Mhm.
out of you. So like they'll
Yes.
introduce horror stuff or they're like in a different age bracket, so they'll introduce stuff. So I was wondering. That's
I,
funny.
I
Yeah, for
tried.
sure. And she
I was gonna say I tried to introduce my younger brother to horror, and I introduced him to to Tim Curry's, and he's been afraid of clowns ever since, and won't
yes.
watch horror ever with me now. So
Yeah,
I tried.
that's
Way to
so
go.
funny. I love that. Yeah, my sister and I would just like always try to scare each other because like different movies always scared us. So like I remember she was traumatized by like the 2003 Texas Chainsaw.
Mhm.
And like we watched that around Halloween time. And where we lived at the time, our backyard was like the back of a farm where they would do like a scary corn maze. So we would just hear like the chainsaw running all
Oh,
night. And I
Oh
would
my
just like
god.
bully the shit out of her because she was fucking terrified. But then
That's
like
so
she would do
funny.
the same to me with other movies. So yeah, a lot of
Yes.
my like fondest memories are around horror movies.
Oh, I love that. That is so awesome.
My sister hated horror movies, and we had this back porch, and on the left side of it, it had like this lattice that went up to the roof, like underneath her window in her room. And my mom used to put like fur all over it because she was terrified of Silver Bullet, and she thought that the werewolf was going to climb up there in the room to get her. That was like
Oh,
one
that's
of my. It's like a
traumatizing.
very it's like a very early memory for me because she hated that movie.
I
It
love
was
that.
too funny, yeah, too funny.
Shall we get into the meat of the podcast then?
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
About
oh yeah, our
Mr. Mike Flanagan.
Flanagan. The
Uh,
Flaniverse.
The
So
our
flavor.
let's
Lord and
start off
Savior.
easy.
I
Our
know.
Lord and Savior, Mike Flanagan.
He
We
is.
will get really into Haunting of Hill House later. So other than that, what's your favorite Mike Flanagan piece of work? Sydney,
Ugh,
do you want to kick
it's
it off?
so hard because I literally think all of his movies are like 10 out of 10s.
Mhm.
But if I had to pick one, just being such a diehard Stephen King fan, and like I think he just did this movie such justice, I have to say Doctor Sleep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love how he like somehow because I used to be a fan of The Shining until I read the book. And then I like go back and watch the movie and I'm like, this movie really did not do it justice. Like the story is
Mhm.
actually completely different and so much more meaningful. And like while I still respect it obviously as like a staple and a classic, I don't really think it held up. But then to see Mike Flanagan come in and do a perfect sequel of the book The Shining and the movie The Shining because they're so drastically different, that's when
Mhm.
I was like, this man can literally do no wrong. Like he is
Mhm.
a genius. Like I don't know how somebody can bring those two things together so perfectly, but he managed to do it.
No,
Absolutely.
it's such a great movie. I had to rewatch it. It's been forever since I've seen it, but it's incredible.
Hmm.
Perfect. Chuck, what about you?
My favorite is an odd one that a lot of people don't talk about, and it has absolutely no business being as good as it is. But I love Gerald's Game.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and it was like one that I waited a really long time to watch, and then I didn't see much buzz about it. But like when I watch it, because I've read the book as well, it's so spot on, so well done. It's uncomfortable and haunting, and it's like respectfully done. And that's not something that I thought somebody could put the film as well as he did. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I love Hush as well. I think Hush is very well done. For a home, because I'm a home invasion guy. So what about you, Seth?
So I love Midnight Mass. That's my favorite show of his, but I'm also with you, Sydney, where I absolutely love Dr. Sleep. I just think everything about that movie is fantastic, and I absolutely love Rebecca Ferguson as Rose the Hat. I think she's just so terrifying, but like is like sexy in the same way and just like plays it perfectly. And then the girl who plays Abra, I thought she was fucking fantastic. So I don't know, everything about that movie just is so good to me, and it doesn't feel long, and them recreating The Shining, like going back to the hotel and all that, I thought was so cool to me.
Brian, what about you?
For me,
go ahead, Brian. No, go ahead.
No, you were going to be like.
No, I was just going to say it was respectfully done to the original without like shitting on it. Like it was like an homage while saying, "Look, I'm doing my thing to the book," which is like it's the same with Fede and 2013 Evil Dead. It's a real weird space to navigate, and they both did it, flawlessly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I also think. I was gonna say real quick, I also think that was like the first time I've seen like a kid get killed in a movie.
Oh, and it's like brutal.
Very brutal.
Yeah.
And I think that really stuck with me too. Like there were no holds barred in that scene, and it was just devastating. The screams.
Oh yeah.
That kid's like the best child actor there is.
Yeah.
Jacob Tremblay. Yeah. Oh my God.
It's jarring when they kill a kid, but
yeah,
it's also interesting.
Okay.
Satisfying.
Put that on record. It's because you're always you're always like, go there, and then they do, and you're like, nice,
and you're like, wait, I don't know, yeah,
and then you're like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, Damien Rugna.
Yeah, Damien Rugna loves Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm going to get a little pretentious. I watched Absentia when it first came out. I had no idea who Mike Flanagan was. Like nobody knew who he was, and I know. And like I was on a forum. That's how long ago it was, because we didn't have things like TikTok, so I had to find it on a forum. And it's so good for the budget it has. They created that story. It's like this guy's going to be huge, and I was right. So did you watch it?
You found
as
him.
always.
I didn't finish it.
Yeah.
So.
Absentia was one I watched years ago too, and I never put together that it was Mike Flanagan until like more recent times when I learned who Mike Flanagan was, and I was like, holy shit. Like it's just like so different than his usual style. I feel like I never would have like put it together.
Yeah, it's great. Gigi?
I think honestly, Midnight Mass is one of my like most favorite pieces of work from him. I still have like vivid memories of like watching it, and I remember just like binging the whole thing in one day because I was like, this is so good. But I'm with Chuck. I also love Gerald's Game so much, and I actually went into that not knowing it was Mike Flanagan. I just like randomly saw it one day and put it on, and then it made sense afterwards where I was like, oh yeah, but it's just such a great freaking movie. I love it so much.
I completely agree. It was just out of nowhere and just blew me away. Like, but everything he's touched, I agree with Sid. Like, if they're not a 10 out of 10, it's like a 9 out of 10. You know what I mean? Like they're so close. Because,
like they're still enjoyable.
Yeah, they're so in his world building and the characters and everything, which kind of leads us into the next question. And Sydney, we know that you covered extensively The Haunting of Hill House on your podcast. Hello, Sydney. All that will be linked in the bottom in the episode to go to Sydney's podcast and support her because it's absolutely fantastic. I'm pretty positive, but not 100% sure, but I was positive that episode 5 and 6 were your favorite in the midst of Hill House.
6 specifically. 6, like because that's the one. Yeah, where they're in the funeral home, like preparing for Nellie's funeral, and it's 2 storms. So it's like the duality of like that storm when they were kids in the Hill House, and like the storm now on the night of her funeral. Blows me away every time.
Yes, I agree. I think the bent neck lady leading into the funeral was such a great setup for the unleashing of the true trauma of the family, and doing that in that long, consistent shot really made you sit with the emotions of all them. And that was the epiphany when I knew that Mike Flanagan was brilliant to like bring that whole little world into those people. Cause like I really resonated and felt a lot of the characters, which I'm sure everybody did, but like that episode 6 is I think it's arguably one of the greatest episodes of television, all genres ever filmed. I think that's how brilliant it is. What do you guys think about it? What do you think about it, Seth?
So I haven't rewatched it in a long time. I absolutely loved Haunting of Hill House, but I resonate way more with Midnight Mass. So I remember a lot of those episodes more so than Haunting of Hill House. But I agree. I do remember leading into it with the bent neck lady and that whole funeral scene, and that just being just such an emotional gut punch, and everything after that just being just falling into place. Like, he sets everything up so perfectly, and like, you don't know what to expect, and then when it hits you and you're like, oh, so this is what's going on. I think he just does such a good job of towing that line.
Flanagan.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I actually, I'm kind of the same boat with you, Seth. I haven't seen it in so long, and that's why I was like super excited when you did cover it, Sydney, because I was like, oh, perfect. I love it. Like, when I don't have like time to rewatch a whole like freaking TV show, and it's like, an hour long episodes each. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just listen to the podcast, recap it while I'm like doing other things that I need to be doing.
Yeah.
So it's like, it feels like I've rewatched it. But that's the episode 6 is like one of the episodes that really like that I actually really remember, because like some of the other episodes I just don't quite remember that well, but I love that episode. I also love anything that's like stormy. If it's like a dark and
Yes.
stormy night kind of description, I love that kind of stuff. So that's why that one really sticks with me.
Give me those vibes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Give me the storms. Brian?
Right. Yeah.
So I just rewatched this morning because I knew this question was coming up. I think I prefer episode 5, if I'm honest. 6, it's so emotional that I'm like, come on, man. I don't expect to feel when I'm watching my horrors, which is obviously what Mike Flanagan is an expert at.
Right.
So at 5, just like that reveal, the bent neck lady, and I'm just like, oh, okay, this is. I think that was 5. Hope that was 5. Was in the reveal.
It was 5. What?
Yeah.
It's just it's so
I
good.
think that's like the best
Yeah.
plot twist in anything ever, personally. 100%. Like, and the fact that it comes like halfway through the series, like it's not even like you have to wait the whole time for it to be revealed. Like, it's just, again, the timing, like his pacing, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes total sense. It almost makes it that more terrifying that you now have this known quantity that you have to deal with. So it makes it scarier when you're going to see it again. But like even back into 6, I just think that, the way that he writes characters, and every family has, somebody that deals with some kind of like addiction, or the over obsessive one, or the one that can't stop working, or the germaphobe, like all those different characteristics that each character had. Every human being can relate to that in some form or fashion. So when it was just so in your face about everybody's gone to an uncomfortable funeral before and nobody's wanted to be there, and then you have the conversations about like, oh, where's so and so at, it's just chef's kiss completely.
I do want to say too, I don't remember which episode it is, but the scene where Nell's husband has the aneurysm, or I think it was her fiance, that scene stuck with me for the longest time ever, because just right after that, she's like in the like sleep paralysis, can't move, and like that whole thing just was just so brutal to watch, and like have that all happen to her. So that stuck with me for the longest time.
Yeah, that was freaking devastating. I also didn't really like connect that they were all it wasn't really until recently did I like start to really deep dive into like the things that I was watching, just to get like further meaning from them. So I didn't know until you covered it that they all kind of symbolize a different like stage of grief. And then as you were like breaking that down, I was like, oh, that makes total fucking sense now.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And once you know that, like if you rewatch it, you can't unsee it. It's like so evident.
I definitely need to do a rewatch with like that in the forefront of my mind. But kind of going into our next question with Flanagan, how do we feel he's influenced modern horror, like the genre of horror? Because I feel like it's weird, because when you see a Flanagan piece of work, you just know, you're like, oh, this is very Mike Flanagan. Or you see something else and you're like, oh, this is very like reminiscent of Mike Flanagan. But like, what do you think that is?
Yeah. I mean, personally, I feel like Mike Flanagan is like everybody else in the horror industry should like watch him and take notes, because the thing I like about Mike Flanagan is like, he's a genre nerd like we are. And you can
Mhm.
tell. And I feel like that's like so evident in his work. And I feel like he doesn't do things like for profit. And he has just such like a deep respect. Cause like, especially the things he does where he uses source material, right? He has like such a deep respect for that source material. And I feel like he almost understands the source material more than the person who actually created it. And he
Totally.
puts like such a beautiful spin on it while also like just again having so much respect for what was actually written, but making it so unique on his own. And I also feel like nobody really fuses like emotions with terror as he does, because like a lot of his stuff, like you're going to feel these like deep, deep emotions. Like you're going to feel sadness, you're going to feel anger, but you're also going to feel fear. And like, I don't think many people are able to fuse those all together as effortlessly and as like effectively as he does.
Yeah, I totally agree because we just watched Exhibit A in Slasher Talks Discord, and like Exhibit A is very like traumatic and like scary in like a real life way. And but I love that Flanagan is able to do that, but then also like instill like a very like in a supernatural kind of like otherworldly way where it's like it's not just a real life fear, it's also this like, you know, horror genre, almost like creature ghostly type of fear too, and it's just blended together so well. Because sometimes when it's like too real life like Exhibit A, I was like, oh, this is actually kind of traumatizing and not so
Right.
much a horror
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
He also just is really, really great with dialogue. And I think that's a lot of things that a lot of other like horror directors can't really pull off. But like he is like the master of it. Like in Midnight Mass, like every single conversation was just so deep and like so meaningful to the story and everything around it. And so that's what I think really like separates him from others. And then on top of that, his jump scares. Like nobody does jump scares like Flanagan can, and they're never cheap. They're like always
No.
perfectly timed, like they're meant to be there. And I think it just he does it so well.
I totally agree. Yeah, with
Yeah.
I love like I know that like some people aren't jump scare fans, but I love a good timed jump scare. And
Yes.
the only type of jump scare I don't like is like the really like loud ones, but I don't even think he does that. Like he doesn't
No.
do like the
No.
loud like it's only scary because it's like assaulting your ears. It's like actually scary because it's perfectly timed. The creature or whatever it may be is terrifying looking. I just love his jump scares.
Yeah, he doesn't cop out because he can't think of anything else. And I think that's what a lot of directors do. They're like, oh, we don't know where to take this. So here's a jump scare. And then
Yeah.
they use it to move the plot forward. And he doesn't do that. It's way more intelligent than that. Also, like the brilliance of like even in Hill House and Midnight Mass, more importantly, Hill House is the, you know, the hiding of all the imagery throughout the entire show
yeah.
is nobody does that. And I mean, and if they do it to the level that he did it for that horrific feel, because that's like even whenever you went through a second time, it was so much better because you would see that face in the glass over the shoulder or the reflection in the floor and things like that. Like he just understands what is scary, and it doesn't have to be a jump scare or an unaliving or some brutal thing on screen. It could be something so subtle as a reflection in the mirror or something that just gets in your peripheral that you might see it in your hallway. And like, it's just brilliant how he does that as well.
I think the thing he does better than 99% of horror directors is he has characters that you actually give a fuck about. Whereas in horror, it's just fodder, just to be killed off. But you're like, no, I'm actually going to feel something if something happens to this person, which you don't get in a lot of horror. So yeah.
I cried a lot in Midnight Mass because of that.
Yes, like you're so invested in them, and even if they have like their own personal demons or struggles, or they're not like the nicest, like it's still you are so invested in them individually. He does such a good job at carving out each of their characteristics.
He makes them very relatable. Like even sometimes, even though you hate them, you're like, damn, I fucking hate them, but I also see myself in them a little bit.
Yes, exactly. Also, Chuck, you were talking about a a reflection. And I have to tell this hilarious story that happened when me and Justin were in Chattanooga, because literally we were both like, that was a Mike Flanagan jump scare, because I was getting ready in the bathroom and they had this like marble like counter, and all the lights were off. So I was like standing in front of the sink, and the reflection of my feet were hitting the countertop, and I screamed so loud, and I was like, Justin! And then he was like, what? And then I ran away, and then I was like, oh my God, it was my feet. And I was like, so holy good. Shit, dude. He's like, okay, we are watching way too many movies here.
That's how you know.
That's too funny.
I think we're all excited to find out that Mike's taking on The Exorcist and probably saving that franchise. So is there any other IP you would like to see Mike Flanagan tackle? Sydney, you want to kick us off?
Literally everything ever.
Yeah.
I would honestly, that man can do, like, Psycho is my favorite horror movie of all time, right? And if I ever heard they were making another remake of Psycho, I'd be like, oh, this is fucking stupid. Like, why are we doing this? And then I would hear Mike Flanagan was doing it. I'd be like, great, give it to me. Right. It's fine. Yeah. But so I would say The Exorcist, and I'm so excited he's doing that because that's one of my favorites of all time. And he needs to save this franchise, and I know he's going to. Mm-hmm. Another one that I personally think like hasn't really held up, and this is like blasphemy for some people, but Rosemary's Baby. I feel like he would do, I think it drags. It's like, it's like The Shining. Like, I respect its place as a classic, but I think it drags. It's a lot of dead time. And I think he would absolutely slay that. I think he would do so well with like the characters and the symbolism and the dialogue and just everything with that.
That's so Flanagan. And whenever they brought it out on the 4K, I rewatched it and I was like, man, this is an absolute slog, because it just drags and drags. And of course, it has its classical brilliance for what it is, and I appreciate that, but it's incredibly slow. What about you, Seth?
So, I was just thinking about this, and I think he could pull it off. But Jaws. I want to see him try to do like a shark movie.
Okay, so not like remaking Jaws, but just a shark movie, or but like Jaws,
a remake of Jaws, but like in his own way, because I feel like he could really like bring the trauma side out of it, and like a lot of symbolism between the shark and like what the townspeople are feeling, and like Brody. I think he could really pull that off. There was also a rumor that he was going to be redoing Carrie before this whole Exorcist thing. And I really want that to come to fruition.
That'd be pretty sick.
I would love that. I always say, like, I think Mike Flanagan understands Stephen King better than Stephen King understands Stephen King. And I want him to not remake. I want him to do everything that Stephen King's ever done. Like The Stand by Mike Flanagan.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
I think that's the ultimate. I think that's the ultimate one. Because nobody's been able to adapt it like properly for it to be digestible. And I think Flanagan could absolutely do that.
Mm-hmm. That's like when we did our remakes and like prequels episode, when we had to pick who we were going to like recast and everything, I did The Mist, because that's also Stephen King, right? I think The Mist is Stephen King, and I would absolutely love if Mike Flanagan did that. I think he would do such a great job, especially because there's like religious undertones, there's like the scary like creatures, and I just don't think that the CGI holds up, and like especially with that ending, it's like it's just giving Mike Flanagan, and I feel like he could just give us a different spin on it, because I think I love it. I think it's a perfect movie, but I think he could add so much more, where I'm like, I didn't even know that this could get any better than it already was. So
imagine him taking on that ending.
No, exactly.
Like, it's already so devastating, and I feel like he has such a way where he would like, I would probably have a mental breakdown.
No, exactly. That's how I feel. I'm like, he would just take it to the next level, where I'm like, how did you even think about that?
Yeah.
It would go on for 10 minutes longer, and there'd be more conversation, and then it would happen, and then we'd be like, oh.
Yes. Like, imagine the dialogue in there. Yes, exactly. Oh, I love that. Mike, if you're listening.
Mike, please make it happen.
Please, Mike.
Please.
What about you, Brian?
If we're keeping it Stephen King, then I would like to see him take on the Green Mile, because I think he could make that scary as well. So, yeah.
I don't think I'd survive that.
No,
No.
I'd be
I
heartbreaking.
don't.
I didn't survive the first watch.
Yeah.
That movie's rough.
Yeah, no. I can honestly say I think that's probably the saddest movie I've ever seen. And Mike Flanagan
Yep.
again would just like do it like on crack, and it would just
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
I don't
literally
know.
don't think I'd be able to watch it. I'd be like,
No.
no, I'm just not in the mood to be depressed for a month. So
Depressed.
skip.
Yeah. I don't think I could take a Mike Flanagan I'm tired boss. Like I just don't.
No.
I just
I'm gonna
don't
cry
think
right
that,
now.
I know. It's
Let's
so
just have him do Jaws.
devastating.
That'll be fun, guys. Let's not do
Yeah,
those
yeah.
bad ones,
Yeah,
I
see,
lo-
that would be fun.
right?
When
Yeah.
when the Exorcist news broke, I had seen a lot of back and forth banter on social media. Obviously, that some people were very faithful, some people weren't. They think it's a broken franchise. I think the reason I got excited is not because I love Flanagan, but I don't think Flanagan's going to take something for the money or just to take it. Like, I don't
Exactly.
think he's going to approach that project unless he knows that he can do it justice. And that's like the thing that sets him apart. Because you get like these genre directors that make these like independent films that end up being great films, but then they'll like take the Marvel bag and make a piece of shit because
Yep.
it's not what they do. They just do it for that. And like, that's so not Flanagan. And that's just like another reason that like he is almost independently with some other people, like saving the horror genre because he's giving
yeah.
horror
Absolutely.
fans what they want to feel. And I highly, highly respect the fact that, because I'm sure he's been offered ridiculous amounts of money to make things that he didn't want to make. He's just not
Mhm.
making them, which is a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like what I said I can't remember a couple episodes back, but with Oculus, like how it was originally supposed to be a found footage film and it could have got picked up years ago, but he was like, no, I'm standing by my craft. I don't want it to be a found footage and I want it to be what I want to make it. And I feel like he is just so true to himself and what he wants in his art that
Mhm.
I totally agree.
Yeah, he's one of us. He really is. He's
Yeah.
just
He
a
is.
genre nerd. Yeah, right.
He's
But
also like
he
the
respects
sweetest
it, you can
person.
tell.
He's like the sweetest person ever too. Because me and Gigi got to interview him at Overlook, and he was just like,
My
he
dream.
literally is just one of us. Like he just wanted to talk movies, and like
Yeah.
it's so cool to see, and like I'm so happy that he's our horror director.
I
Right.
know.
He's-
You know, it's so go, Jeff.
Go, Gigi. Mm-mm.
I was saying that when we interviewed him though, I was like super nervous to interview.
Same.
But then once we got
I
to
would
interview,
vomit.
I was more so nervous about Kate. Like when she's standing in front of you, she's so
Ugh.
fucking stunning. I
Yeah.
was like,
No.
I don't even know what I said or what she said. But with Mike, I felt like more, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I felt more relaxed because I'm just like, I don't know why I was like way more starstruck with her.
No,
Just
Kate,
looking
I
into
think
her
I'd pass
eyes.
away.
Yes,
Yeah.
and her perfect
Yeah.
teeth.
Her eyes,
just
I was
die
just
now.
like, hello? I was
Yeah.
shaking when I started talking to Mike. I was like, you're my hero. He's like, no, you're my hero. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What'd you just say to me?
That's amazing.
I would literally drop dead.
I almost did.
Yes. But
Oh my
he
God.
talked about how Life of Chuck is like his thing that he's most proud of. And I'm like so sad because have we gotten any updates about Life of Chuck? I feel like we just got one not that long
We
ago.
did, yeah.
But I
think-
can't remember.
It did get picked up by a studio finally, so I think
It
it is going to
did.
be released this year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. So because
Fantastic Fest.
yeah, I know, right? Because like the fact that that's like something that he's most proud of, I can't wait. I feel like we're just going to be blown away further.
And it's not even horror,
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
but the cast
So-
is
I would
kinda
watch anything
unbelievable.
that man made.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
seriously.
It doesn't matter.
It's premiering at the TIFF Fest
Yeah,
in September.
In Toronto.
So that's when it's going to have it. Yeah, Toronto. That's when it's going to have its world premiere.
I bet it's
So
a
that's good.
Fantastic Fest,
It's
I
very
hope
so.
possible.
Should we group trip to Toronto?
right?
Hell yeah.
I mean, I'm down Toronto.
I would
today.
travel to the ends of the earth for that man. So
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of things coming out later this year, Sydney, what are you most excited for? I know you're excited for Long Legs.
oh, I was gonna say, like, at the beginning of the year, that wasn't my most anticipated, but now seeing all the hype about it, that's definitely my most anticipated, I would say.
You didn't see it?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
Am I the
Did
only
you
one
see
who
it?
has?
No. I just thought
No,
that
none of
maybe
us
you
have.
would have
I
been.
have.
None
So
of
I
us
got-
have.
Oh
Just
yeah,
say.
I got
Seth has.
invited.
Duh.
What did you think?
I fucking loved it. I
Okay.
I will say, like, because and I posted my review yesterday, like what some people find scary might not be scary to you, but I will say the one thing that movie does very well is it gets under your skin. And I left the theater wanting to take a shower. I just felt so uncomfortable and so tense the entire runtime, and that's what scares me more so than anything. And it's just like the visuals, the sound, like it's just an assault on your senses, and it's just unlike anything I've seen in a very, very long time.
I've heard it's like filled with dread. And that's like some of my favorite kinds of horror movies is when they don't have to be in like necessarily scary, but when they're dreadful, I fucking love that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm super excited for that. And then obviously just being like, if you can see my Art the Clown in the background, Terrifier 3. I can't fucking wait for Terrifier 3.
Wait, are you going to Fantastic Fest?
Yeah, I was just going to say.
No, where is it?
What?
When is it?
Oh my God.
Looking it
you
up.
should go.
I thought we talked about this. So me and Chuck were battering you with messages. Okay.
Yes,
yeah,
Austin, Texas.
We're pretty sure
okay.
We're pretty sure it's going to premiere there.
Texas.
Yeah,
yeah, we did talk about this.
There. Yeah.
Because one did.
Austin, the 18th
I was listening to
27th.
your yeah, it is really long. That's the only thing.
Are you all going?
Yes.
Yeah. Even fucking Brian.
Brian's flying here from Scotland.
From Scotland.
If Brian can fly there from Scotland, I can fly there from Rhode Island. Stop.
Exactly.
From his first time in the United States ever. Is Fantastic Fest with the pod.
What a way. What a way
to
go.
I got chill bumps from that, Brian.
Yeah. It's such a fun time. I went last year for the first
Irish
time, and I convinced them all to come. It's like it's the best week ever, and literally all the directors and actors just like hang out in the movies with you, and it's just there's so many great opportunities for you to like interview some of the like talent that come into. It's awesome.
You guys are going for the whole time?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We got an Airbnb. Stay in our Airbnb. But I was talking to Sean Chandler yesterday, and he was like, I've been to South by Southwest, I've been to Overlook, I've been here. And he goes, out of all movie festivals, Fantastic Fest is my absolute favorite by far. And I was like, I'm so excited.
It's the best run for sure out of the ones I've been to.
I would just feel bad if I left on day 8. Then I got a text from Gigi. It says, "Oh, you'll never guess what happened. We just had dinner with Flanagan or something crazy." Like, right. Yeah, that's my total luck too. So
oh my God. Cool. But more freaking power to you, Sydney. I was listening to the second like the Paranormal Activity episode this morning, and you got invited to Long Legs, but you couldn't attend.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I quit my job just to fucking watch this movie.
So, that's why I'm literally like, I need to quit my fucking job. Like the shit that I could be doing if I didn't have like, oh, I have to go like, because anytime I get invited to like a premiere or something like that, it's always on like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. It's very random.
And they're like, next week.
Was it the one at the Vista Theater?
Yeah.
I would have met you. That's the one I went to.
Damn.
That would have been so cool.
Quit your job.
See, I was like, I'm going to call my boss right now and be like, hi, I quit. Thank you.
Exactly. Well, I'm hoping that's in that. Yeah, I'm hoping that's in the future. But Seth, what are you excited for? Since you are just all fucking long legs and we're just peasants over here.
I'm sorry, guys. Alien Romulus, without a doubt. I love Fede Alvarez. You know his Evil Dead's my favorite, and I'm just so ready to see the brutality of a chest burster from his point of view.
Yeah.
Like none of those kids are surviving. We all know that.
I'm
that movie's gonna rip.
It's gonna be so fucking good.
It's gonna be so. There's no way that movie's bad. No way.
I'm so excited.
Not possible.
Absolutely not. What about you, Chuck?
I mean, I've been championing it since the end of time, and we're gonna actually have him next week, which I'm so stoked about. Is Brute 1976. I can't wait to see it. I've seen the trailer, and I talk to him regularly, and he loves Marcel Waltz, and he loves the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it is his homage to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And so many people have miserably failed at doing that.
Oh, yeah.
And from what I've seen of what he has, I think he's going to nail it. So yeah, we're having him on, which he accepted, and we're going to do a Texas Chainsaw Massacre episode with the director of Brute 1976. If you're not privy to it, Sid, you should definitely look into it and look it up. Because I think that movie's going to rip, and it's independent too. He's not, he turned down a bunch of distributors because he wants it to be released like Terrifier, unedited.
Oh, see,
with no big hands on it or anything. He wants people to get the art that he made, and like I respect the shit out of that because he could have sold it immediately.
that's how you know it's going to be good.
Yeah.
I'm
excited for an homage because I love that like
gritty,
sweaty, gritty. Like, I mean, I say sweaty, but then I don't even know if I really like that because, but like the grittiness of things, I'm like, I like you said, Chuck. I think people try, but they fail.
They shot the whole thing on like 35 and 16 millimeter. Like it just, I mean, the trailer is filthy feeling. You know what I mean? Like the whole thing has that mucky, grimy feel to it. Like not like zombie, but just genuine. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I've been real excited for that one.
Brian, what about you?
So my most excited for the year was for Maxine. But after seeing the lukewarm reviews, I've decided I'm not getting excited for any movie again this year.
You're like, Amber, I actually hate horror now.
Exactly. I'm a romantic comedies all the way for me now.
I haven't seen it yet. Gigi, you just saw it, right? Killer outfit, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Incredible.
She's a star.
I love that I just happened to like have that. And then I was like, I am saving this for my Maxine like watch like 3 months from now.
That was perfect.
It's like I think it's a really good, it's a very fun, entertaining watch. But as far as the storyline, I think the storyline's just kind of like meh, but it's just so interesting how it's like even with a storyline that's kind of like, okay, it's still so fun to experience and watch. And I think that's kind of rare to happen because I feel like when a storyline isn't good, I really just don't care about the movie in general. But this is an anomaly where I was like, oh, I actually would still recommend people to watch it, even though it was just like so.
To be fair, that kind of all the Ty West back catalogue is kind of like that. It's entertaining enough, but I don't think it's anything other than Pearl and X, like The Sacrament. Nobody's saying that's their favorite movie ever or anything. But I love them when I watch them. Exactly. But,
same thing with like House of the Devil. Like I know a lot of people like that, but I just like the feel of it, but I don't think it's like
I'm not crazy about it.
Yeah, same. No. So I feel like I have to say I think I'm most excited for Nosferatu. I love like even more than like Alien Romulus because I just know that's going to be like so good. I love like a good sci-fi like crazy horror flick. But with Nosferatu, I am so drawn to like dark gothic. Again, if it's like this dark stormy night gothic type of movie, I'm so drawn to it. I think the cast is just fucking killer. I'm so I'm happy that in the trailer they didn't really show much of Bill Skarsgård.
I agree.
So I'm so excited. I feel like we're going to be like, you know, surprised at what he looks like. So that one's got to be that and Night Bitch because I love her. So those two.
The hand shot in the trailer is so cool to me from Nosferatu.
Yes.
Oh, yes, I know.
Yeah. I feel like that's how you do a trailer. Like, and that's why I'm so excited for Longlegs because I feel like I know nothing about the movie. And like, same thing with Nosferatu. Like the fact that we didn't see him, like the anticipation is killing me. Like I can't wait. And it's going to make the reveal so much better.
Don't watch the new trailer, by the way, if you haven't yet. Do not watch it.
I haven't. And I won't.
Okay, good. Do not watch it. It gives away some things.
Yeah.
That's did they show them?
Kind of, but they also like show some other things that are in the movie that gives them some things away. So just avoid it.
The one that was before Bike Riders?
No, they just released another one.
Okay, I haven't seen it. I'm not going to watch it. Okay.
No, not Nosferatu. Longlegs.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen that. I haven't watched any of those either.
Okay, good. Don't do it.
Yeah, I haven't watched it like since the first little teaser, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch. Yeah, I was like, I'm excited. I did see a tweet this morning that was fucking hilarious. It was like, at this point, Nick Cage is gonna have to come out of the screen and kill me.
I saw that.
I was like, well, that's literally how I feel with like the hype. But this is one of those rare occasions where I do feel like it's not overhyped. I feel like it's actually like legit. So
I agree.
I mean, when Justin called me right after it. Yeah. When Justin called right after it, I knew it was legit because I just trust him. And then 2 nights ago, Ricky texted me at like 3:00 in the morning and it just said, mate, blown the fuck away. Like that's all the text said. And I was just like, good enough for me, Ricky. Thanks. I'm going to see it.
Wow, you don't trust me, Chuck? Wow, okay.
I know.
No,
Welcome.
I 100% do, but that's like obviously known, Seth.
Yeah, duh.
100%.
I do think though that they're doing a little bit too much with these pre-screenings. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like they were doing just enough. And then now it's like, okay, guys, this is borderline too much. Like everybody in the world, I feel like has seen it, or they're like a lot of teasers and trailers are coming out where I think they're towing that line too close right now.
That's cool.
I trust Neon very much.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the year of Neon horror.
I mean, between that and, Immaculate and I don't know I know you guys have seen it. Sid, did you see Handling the Undead?
Mm-mm.
It's another Neon that
not.
didn't get a lot of publicity because it's a very slow burn, like folk horror type kind of movie. Like it's a zombie
boring.
movie.
I'm just kidding.
I could see that it could be boring, but it's about grief and trauma. It's a really fucking good movie.
Yeah, it's visually so gorgeous though.
It is. I almost think on a second watch you might like it more, Gigi.
Probably. Honestly, I think because when I went into it, I was like I was just expecting something different, like knowing that it was a zombie movie. But then also I'm starting to warm up to slow burns because I really wasn't a fan of slow burns. But now that I've seen like 10 gazillion different types of horror movies this year, and like I'm realizing that all of like the slow depressing ones are my favorite. And I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe I'll like it more. Because that one I watched it in like January. So I don't know, maybe.
So, Sydney, getting into the next question here. First off, I want to say that the episode that you did on As Above, So Below was absolutely fantastic. And like, I learned so much about that movie. It's one of my favorite movies. And I had no idea it was about like Dante's Inferno. And there's so many different themes that I like completely missed. And wanted to ask you, like, your podcast is just a very unique style on how it deep dives and retelling movies and shows and things like that. What made you kind of choose that direction for the podcast?
Yeah. So early in my like TikTok career, I instantly I started obviously posting about horror movies, and then I almost instantly had people being like, hey, I'm way too scared or anxious to watch this movie. Like, could you tell me what it was about? And that's kind of how I got into this like whole spoiler thing that I do. And I guess before that, I never really realized how many people like want to know what happens in horror movies and want to watch them, but like can't because they're too anxious or they're too scared. Because for me, it's like the opposite. Like it makes me like, it takes away my anxiety, right? So you don't realize that there's people that it's the opposite. So I guess I just want people to like love and appreciate horror movies as much as I do, even if they can't watch them. So if I'm the one to tell them about that and like show all the connections, like I'm very happy to do it. Like I just want people to love it as much as I do, I guess. So that's kind of how that was born.
It's funny you say that too, because and Brian and all these guys know that I listened to your Poughkeepsie Tapes episode, and I I just can't watch that movie. Like it just seems like it's too brutal for me. And after you're listening to your podcast, I texted them. I was like, guys, I can't do this movie. But I technically I watched it, right? Yeah, now I know.
Yeah, right. It's the same.
It's the same. But that was a really good breakdown too.
No, I love that because I think you do such a good job with like not only giving people like a play by play, but also like weaving in these deeper meanings of things or these like behind the scenes things that like I would have just never known otherwise. But I love that. And it's also like I have a horrific memory. And so it's nice because sometimes when you retell like a movie, I'm like, it's like I've never fucking seen this movie because I don't remember this entire
like
segment of this movie.
Yeah.
So I love just listening to him over because it's kind of like I rewatched it and just have like a new appreciation for it. So I think it's it's very unique. I feel like not a lot of people do that. Like I think they deep dive into movies or do like reviews, but not in the same way that you like weave things into it. Anyways, we're your biggest fans.
Yeah.
Oh, stop. You're making me blush. Oh my God.
There's a couple people out there paying homage to doing spoilers on TikTok. They just don't do it as good as she does it.
It's hard. I don't know how you do it.
But she does. You have a natural way of picking it's like in layman's terms, and it's not condescending, and like the way that you're so excited about explaining it. It's like, hey, it's the 4th of July. We're going to talk about a movie that takes place in the wintertime. Let's fucking go. And like, you're just so sucked into, that's what I'm saying. You just get so sucked into it. And like you explain it, it's perfectly. Yeah, they're fantastic.
Thanks.
Big
Yeah.
fans.
I mean, I think that's where like a lot of my following on TikTok has come from, because people can tell when you're being genuine,
Oh,
you know,
totally.
and like
Absolutely.
when you actually care about what you're talking about versus like, yeah, I'm just doing this for views or whatever. So, yeah, I just
100%.
love it. I want everybody to love it.
Yeah. No, I love that. Chuck.
I was having like another moment of just thinking, but it's cool. So like the big question is obviously, like, I know that it doesn't necessarily like set in with you and it doesn't seem real. Like, you know, the day that I commented on your post and said, I'm going to continue to comment on here until you follow me. And I like read, it said, well, today's the day. And I like literally shit myself. I was like, holy fuck. Couldn't even believe it. But so I got past
so
that.
crazy to
But
me.
on this, it was crazy to me. Like I sent them all a text. It's like, holy shit, she followed me. It was awesome. But anyway, so past that, but like, so I know it doesn't set in, but like more than 500,000 people give a shit about what you say. Like, and that's not
Yeah.
going away. It's very real, and that is a very powerful statement to how genuine you are. But what are your future plans as a creator, and like what kind of legacy or influence would you like to leave on horror when it's all said and done, like moving forward?
I guess I would say in the past couple months, especially, I've kind of been like, wow, this could be like a full-time thing for me. Like this really could be something I do like for a career. And especially like my job currently, again, it's a prison. I work at a maximum security prison with men. And I'm like, this is not, I don't know if this is it anymore. Like, I don't know if I want to do this. And I have something that I love and that I'm making money off of and that I'm very good at apparently, and people want to listen to me. So yeah, in the past couple months I've really been like, wow, like how could I capitalize on this and keep going with it? And yeah, I mean, the podcast helps a lot. That's really getting out there. And Justin made me merch. Like Justin made me
So
a
cool.
design
I can't wait to
for a
freaking see
couple
it.
shirts.
It's
Yep, I'm gonna wear
awesome.
them both to GhoulieCon and then I'm gonna drop it.
Oh
But
my
he's
God.
fucking incredible. Yeah.
Justin's like
He's
an
fucking
honorary fifth
incredible.
member of the
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
pod.
Absolutely amazing. Like I literally like we talked on the phone about it and he's like, "Well, what do you want? What are you thinking?" And I'm like, "I have no idea." Like that's my problem. I don't know what I want. And he's like, "Don't worry, I got you." And then like comes back with these 2 designs that are like fucking awesome. I'm like, "How did you like read my mind when I gave you nothing?" Like what?
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess just it's so weird because again, I never thought this would be like a thing that I could possibly do with my life. Like this was always just like a hobby and something I loved. And now I'm seeing that it could fully be something that is full time. And my dream would be having like Joe Bob's Last Drive-In,
Oh wow.
right?
That'd be
That's what,
so
yeah,
cool.
like a thing like
Oh
that.
hell yeah.
Like
That's
something
what I was
like
gonna
that.
ask.
And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I never would have thought that was possible. But now I'm like, look at all the opportunities that come to me just through social media. Like it
Yeah.
absolutely is possible. And it's possible
Oh
for
yeah.
everybody to do it, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm just taking it as it goes. It's still just so weird to me. And I'm like, wow, something I loved my whole life is something that could literally just be my career. Like that's insane.
Yes. No,
It's
and I
awesome.
totally agree. And sometimes it doesn't like I think we have our days where we're like we feel guilty and we have to like we don't want to record a video because we're not feeling great about ourselves or it's like we're in a bad mood. But for the most part, it's like it's so like it doesn't feel like work because it's something that
No.
you just love so much. Like well, like I know for us, it's like I'll stay up until like 1, 2 a.m. like working on something. And it's just like it's because I like doing it. But if I have to do it for
Yeah.
like my job, I'm like, what the fuck capitalism? So it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm so happy that you said that about the Joe Bob because I was like, I wonder what she wants to everybody has like a different end goal, whether that's to be like
Yeah.
a filmmaker or like a full-time content creator or YouTube or something like that. But I don't think I've asked everybody here, what do you guys like? What's your end goal? Who are you people?
Yeah. Who are you
I
guys?
I love talking to people. So I really want to keep doing interviews and like be like the place where like kind of like Perry Nemiroff, like where people come to like do interviews and like you can share that online and like YouTube and things like that. So I want to take that aspect of what I do like further than just like my normal reviews because I just love talking to people about horror and just movies in general. It lights me up. So I love that kind of thing.
I love that. Brian, what about you?
You know how delusional I am now after speaking to Francis.
Oh, yeah. You're like, I want to make the next Blair Witch.
I know. I want to make a found footage film, even if it's garbage and it goes on Tubi and nobody watches it. I'm like, I could do this. Like, some of the crap we've seen, I could do it at least that bad. So
if it comes out,
they didn't think Blair Witch was going to be as successful as it did.
Yeah.
So
That's
you never
exactly. Chuck, what about you?
You should make dash cam too, Brian.
Oh yeah,
I just find a real arsehole.
Me,
yeah.
Just find a real.
You could, Gigi. You could never be as insufferable as that woman. Please.
I'm honored.
I don't know what the future is. I'm gonna keep grinding until I find out what it is. But like ultimately, I mean, I'd like to be like us. Like I want to see everybody win. Like that's my perspective. And like I think what we have here at the Dark Screen Society is something. Like I think there's a possibility that we could be like the Joe Rogan of horror podcasts, like that big. Like I think that's attainable. I know we're still early in, all of us, but I mean, I would love to quit my job and do this full time, just talk about things that I love, which is horror movies. And I just think I'm going to continue to bet on myself, and there, some company somewhere along the line is going to see my blisteringly wonderful personality and say, hey, do you want to come here and talk about horror movies or something like that? So I don't know. I mean, the amount of like directors that we've connected with and people that we've talked to, just like being like, I still consider myself a smaller account, you know what I mean? Like the sky's the limit, you know what I mean? And then there's people like, you know, when you were talking, Sid, about your account in the future and quitting your job, like, and it was the same with Francis. We had Francis on last week, and the humility that you possess, the way that you talk about yourself, is why you're going to be successful, because you don't have like, there's like some big creators, they're assholes because they think, oh, I got so-and-so followers, so I could just be a dick. Like, and you don't come off that way at all. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I've met some of them.
Yeah. But just
nice to me.
The humility and the gratitude you have to talk about what you love speaks volumes, and that's why you're successful and you'll continue to be successful. And that's like how I try to model my life in real life, so I'll do that in social media, because I don't want to be a carbon copy of anybody. I just want to be me.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool.
That.
Can I change my answer?
No.
You absolutely can change your answer.
You're locked in forever.
I want to become rich enough where I can basically make a small town that's just Halloween every single day. With the spooky vibes, fall,
okay.
fog.
I'll go in on that with you.
Yeah, only if I could live there.
Yeah, we're gonna make it big enough where we can all go live there, and it's just spooky time every day.
Hell yeah!
I want to be in a movie.
The dream.
Yeah.
Anybody listening to this, cast me in a movie. I used to really want to act when I was young. I've always, like, people are always like, oh, do you like being in front of the camera? And I was always like, no. And then I think back on it and I'm like, no, I have always wanted to be in front of the camera. Like my brothers would make movies and they'd be like, okay, you're the star. And I'm like, okay. And then like now I like make videos. I used to do Twitch and I'm like, okay, I actually think I do like being in front of the camera. And so now, and then after seeing Maxine, I'm like, oh, I'm fucking delusional. I think I could be a star. So that's what I want to do.
Being delusional is the key. Manifest
Exactly. So
that's how you do it.
I'm waiting for somebody to cast me.
The only one stopping you is you. So get out there.
That's what I always tell everybody too. Like the video that you don't make or the event that you don't go to could be the person that you were supposed to meet or the person that was supposed to see your content that's going to change your life forever. Because it literally happens like that. Like it could just be wake up one day and be completely different. So it's like, if you love it, keep doing it because you enjoy it. If it becomes a burden, then maybe you shouldn't do it.
Yep.
So, Sydney, can you please tell our audience, first and foremost, we are absolutely honored that you came on to the podcast. We're obviously big fans, and we are all looking forward to continuing to build a reciprocal friendship because you're awesome. But can you please tell our listeners where they can find you on socials and your podcast? And we will have it all linked below in the notes of the show.
Yeah, for sure. So you guys can find me on TikTok. It's horror_chronicles. That's definitely where I'm the most active. I try to post on there at least once a day. Other than that, same username on Instagram. And then my podcast is called the Hello Sydney Podcast. It's on Spotify, Apple, etc., etc. So yeah, check me out.
It's awesome. Everybody should go check all her stuff out, and you can find us on the same places: YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, individually and collectively as a group. So please, rate, subscribe, share the episode, and spread it around, because word of mouth is the best publicity. And we are, just blown away. I thought this was a great episode. Mike Flanagan, we know that you're listening, and we hope that you enjoyed this episode. And we look forward to seeing you at Fantastic Fest.
Mike, I love your wife.
Yeah,
yes.
Right.
Same.
She's awesome. Do you want to take us out, Seth? Because you do the closing the best.
Oh, you're just throwing it on me like that? Well, thank you, everybody.
Just like that.
Thank you, everybody, for listening today. Thank you to Sydney for joining us. This was an awesome time. As always, stay haunting, people.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.